Hey guys, Joe Pye here at Advanced Innovations. Welcome back to the shop. Sorry I haven't posted any videos in a while. Work has picked up and it's kind of tough to sneak these in during the day. And at the end of the day, I just want to go home. Anyway, I figured I had to post a video because I wanted to show you my new haircut and tell you why. Well, this is about 9 days worth of growth on my head and my face, and did it for a very good reason, I think. My friend Joe DiCarlo is suffering with pancreatic cancer, and in a moment of weakness and support, I said, man, when your hair starts falling out, we will sit down and we will shave our heads together, not thinking that that day would come. Well, his chemo and his radiation and all the other nasty little things that they throw at you when you have cancer cost him his hair. And he called me up and he called me out and he said, come on over and sit down. And I went over and I sat down and I buzzed my head. And I will probably continue to keep it short because I kind of like the way it feels. Joe has been an absolute trooper throughout this. I don't think that I would be so upbeat. I would be pissed off at the world. I would do what I had to do, but I would have a really poor attitude while I was doing it. Not this guy. He continues to have a great attitude, and he is not deteriorating. He's maintaining, which is good because it's nice to have him around. There will be, in the bottom of this video, a GoFundMe link. If you care to send this family a couple dollars, they could certainly use it. If you don't have it and you can't send it, say a prayer for him because he could certainly use that as well. Joe's been my buddy for 20 years and I hope there's 20 more. Anyway, today, internal thread. August 2016, I posted my first machining video. That was 57 videos ago and almost 13,000 subscribers. And if you're one of them, thank you very much for your support. I am flattered. And it is your support that continues to drive these videos. I am going to run a 2 1/4 12 internal thread today, and I'm going to do it with the machine in reverse, threading away from the chuck. No live center to worry about, right? Tool clears the part, you can just crack your knuckles, look at the clock, whatever, and then disengage it. If you watched my first video, you know that that's the way I like to thread. I wouldn't do it any other way. If you have a screw-on chuck, please be very careful when you run your machine in reverse for any reason, and it's probably not a good idea to do any reverse operations with a screw-on chuck. If it's a keyed nose with a collar, fine. Cam lock, fine. And for this video, I am going to plunge straight in. I am not going to use a compound. Reason for that is I am threading to an internal shoulder. And if you've ever run an internal thread, hopefully it's a through hole, but this is not going to be a through hole. Just for fun, I'm going to video the entire preparation of that blank, and then I'll go to real time and you can watch the thread being done with the camera position change so you can see what's going on. Let's take a walk out to the lathe and take a look. All right guys, for sake of demonstration, I'm going to punch a 1-inch diameter hole through this blank. Then I'm going to bore it halfway through to about 2-inch, 169, 170. Then I'm going to run the 2 1/4 12 thread tool out. Let's do it. Okay guys, through the magic of video editing, this hole is complete. It is a 2-inch 170 diameter bore, 1 inch deep. And the nice thing about running insert tooling is you can use the edge of the insert to chamfer the hole. Now I'm sure you can do that with a hand ground tool as well, but I like to say that insert tooling is the way to go, at least the way I go. I'm going to fire this thing up. It's 570 RPM. Going to run it in reverse, and I will reposition the camera so you can see the thread because I'm going to set a hard stop on this side. I'm just going to use the tip of the tool to chamfer the lead of the hole. If you have an optical comparator or toolmaker mic, or you know your tooling very well, you'll know the distance from the bump or contact point of the tool to the center line feature of whatever feature you're cutting. For this particular operation, I want to use the contact edge of the tool against the face of the work. Now right now at contact, this is where you would set your drop indicator, your dial indicator, your travel dial, your digital readout, whatever method you're going to use to dial in the depth of this hole, and you're going to zero it out. So I'm going to dial in my digital readout to 0. I'm going to feed this down to 995. That's 5 thousandths away from contact on the bottom of the hole. And if you were to try to do this without a stop, somebody were to ask you to do it, you'd laugh and walk away. I know I would, and I've been doing this a long time. Okay, now while I'm going to set my stop on this side, I will reposition the camera so you can see this, and hopefully I can pan up to the digital readout as well. So stay tuned, let me reposition the camera. If you do set a hard stop on your machine, make sure that the face of the carriage that's going to bump up against the stop and the stop face itself are both clean, chip-free. Last thing you want to do is set a stop that has a chip on it, and then you blow the chip off the stop, and all of a sudden your cut is 10 or 15 thou deeper, depending on exactly how thick that chip was. I am positioning my stop against my carriage at this point, locking it down. And that's a pretty solid little setup, so I'm going to double check my digital readout. But first I am going to reposition my tool out of contact way by moving it towards the center of the hole where I know it'll clear. I'm going to bump the stop hard. We have zeros on the digital readout, which is a good thing. Now at 2 inches 170 on the prep diameter of this hole, I know that I have 80 thou worth of movement to go, or a 40 thou depth of thread. I don't normally run threads without a gauge, but for sake of this demonstration, and that's all this is, a demonstration, I will run this thread with a thread depth calculation, which is something I never do. This is isopropyl alcohol I'm putting in here. And the only reason I'm doing that is so that when I put my Sharpie marker on there, any cutting fluids down inside that hole do not compromise the marker. I do plan to sweep this boring bar or this threading tool in and out until I scratch the surface. I'm not just going to plunge it, I'm actually going to move it. Now the reason I did that is you are going to throw a burr on an internal thread. It's unavoidable. By knowing the contact point with your threading tool, you can dust those burrs off at the end of your thread and then run one additional pass, and you don't have to worry about any serious burrs inside your part. So I'm going to write it right on my compound. Clean is 33 on my dial. Now if I know I have to move 80 and clean is 33, then my final number is going to be 113. All right, 570 RPM, hard stop, 12 threads per inch, threading out. Here we go. When I'm done, I'm going to cut this piece in half so you can see what we've accomplished. First thing I did was plunge my tool to the calculated full thread depth. This gives me a tool profile undercut down inside this part. Let's run the thread. Okay, we are down to full depth at this point. I am going to reestablish the lead. You can see how this area right here is raised from the thread running out. I'm going to go back to my 33 number that I had in the beginning. Actually, I'm going to go to 32. Sweep it in. And you should see a very intermittent bump on this tool, which is the burrs coming off the top of this thread. All right, not too bad. Let's go to 33, make it real. Here we go. One final pass. Let's hope that wasn't catastrophic, huh? Okay, I like it. Let's take it over to the mill and cut it in half. Put it across the bandsaw first, and then I'll take it over to the mill and you can see the thread profile. One half of this blank is saw cut and the other half is faced off. So the faced side is towards the rear of this setup, and I'm using my ball with the flat on it against the saw cut side. It is the round part against the saw cut aluminum and not the flat side. As has been noted before and pointed out by a lot of other people, if you turn this around and use the flat against the part and the ball against the vise, it'll still work, but if you really torque it down, you're going to end up with little dimples in your jaw, believe it or not. So don't do that. I am cutting this with a fly cutter because I want a really nice finish, and I am going to make sure that my impact side is the side that I want the cleanest. So as this tool's coming around, I'll take it out of gear. As this tool's coming around, it's going to hit the threaded side first, move the material to the outside. So the thread is going to be nice and clean on the cut, and the burrs will be out here. Notice how nice and quiet that spindle is? A whole lot quieter than it was. And now you can expect to see this thread will be close to the back side of the part. If there is any difference whatsoever, it's because it was a central insert and not an off-center insert. And we still have a little bit of burr activity going on in there, but let's see if we can focus in on that. There it is. How about if I bring it to the camera while I'm trying to figure this camera out, huh? How do you say? Ooh, that's really far out. And you can see the thread is as far to the bottom of this part as you could possibly hope to get. You can see that the crest of the thread, or the bore, has a substantially larger flat than the tip, which is why I don't advocate using thread depth to run a thread. I also don't advocate using the mating part unless you're going to have that mating part in your possession forever. Anyway, there you go, guys. 570 RPM, 12 threads per inch, 1 inch deep, in reverse with the tool facing up to the back side of the part, threading out. It's the only way I do it. It's the only way I'll ever do it. All right, guys, that's really an awesome way to run an internal thread. You have a lot of control. You don't have to worry about crashing your tool into a shoulder. I've been threading like that for 40 years, and I refuse to do it any other way. You can also run left-hand threads exactly the same way. You can thread out. It's just the position of the tool up or down which changes the helix direction. Excuse me. Anyway, if your equipment permits it and your chuck will allow you to do that, try that. Set your hard stop and relax when you're running that internal thread. Don't worry about crashing that tool into the part. Anyway, please visit the GoFundMe page. Help out my buddy Joe. He sure could use it. I won't mention that ever again, and forgive me for soliciting on my videos, but he deserves it. Okay, Joe Pye, Advanced Innovations, Austin, Texas. I'm out.